At 5:30 a.m., the ocean was calm. Too calm. The cruise ship was already awake. Crew members moved through hallways. Passengers slept, but Amy Lynn Bradley was gone. Not missing luggage, not missing shoes. Gone. And here's the part most people don't realize. In 2026, investigators quietly re-examined something they had ignored for nearly 3 decades. Because Amy didn't disappear randomly. She disappeared during a 20-minute window. A window that only 3 groups of people had access to. Crew, security, and someone who knew the ship better than the cameras. In 2026, a former maritime intelligence analyst reviewed old ship layouts and made a disturbing observation. If Amy went overboard, she would have been found. The currents, the time, the ship's speed, none of it matched an accidental fall. But something else did. Because a restricted service corridor hidden behind crew-only doors connects Amy's last known location to a part of the ship passengers were never allowed to enter. And in 2026, a forgotten maintenance log finally resurfaced. One name appears twice that night, a name that was never publicly connected to Amy before. In early 2026, an independent cold case task group gained access to internal crew's staffing records. Not the passenger list, the crew rotation logs. What they found was chilling. A temporary crew member, working security-adjacent duties, had access to crew stairwells, service elevators, night shift blind spots, and the very deck where Amy was last seen. But here's the detail that changed everything. This individual left the ship at the very next port, using an emergency transfer. No interviews, no follow-up. No public record. Why? Because his role didn't officially exist. In 2026, investigators also re-examined old witness statements using modern behavioral analysis. Several passengers had described don't remember why moments. A woman screaming, "Leave her alone." A man seen arguing with a woman near the crew stairwell. A passenger who heard footsteps running, not falling. All statements were individually dismissed. But when layered together, they form a movement path, not an accident. Then came the most disturbing discovery. A declassified maritime trafficking report from the early 2000s, re-released in 2026, confirmed something investigators once denied. Certain cruise routes were being exploited for human transfer operations. Not random abductions, targeted selections. Amy was not intoxicated. She was not alone by accident. She was not unseen. She was identified, and in 2026, a former Caribbean port official made a sworn statement. A woman matching Amy Bradley's description was documented under a false name. The record didn't list her as detained. It listed her as transferred. In 2026, investigators revisited the infamous photographs, the ones many people had dismissed as coincidences. This time, facial mapping AI was used, not to confirm identity, but to measure deliberate disguise markers. The results were unsettling. The facial differences weren't random. They were intentional alterations, hairstyle, posture, expression control, consistent with long-term coercion. Then came the final blow. A former cruise employee, now terminally ill, provided a recorded statement. We were told not to ask questions. If a passenger disappeared, paperwork changed. And sometimes people didn't leave the ship the way they came on. No fall, no accident, no esplas, just silence. Amy Lynn Bradley may not be lost to the ocean. She may have been erased, piece by piece, while the ship kept moving. And if the 2026 evidence is correct, then the most terrifying truth is this. Amy didn't disappear. She was taken. And someone, somewhere, still knows exactly where she went.